Test, test, YouTube, how we doing? Hope all is well. We're going to do us a quick review of Code Edge right now, which is out in the streets. $25% off Code Edge. Basically, for 1 year, you get that at $90 is absolutely incredible. If you compare what we offer in prop betting versus using it for DFS, every major sport, every major analytic, it's all in one place. So you use Code Edge, get that hookup, and let's hit over to some props here. Before we do that, want to alrighty, smooth as butter. Looking at some quick graded highlights from last night. Best predicted game for favorable matchups was the Baltimore Angels game, where we were 16 and 6. If you put $10 on those 22 props, you would have had $104.65 profit. So 16 and 6 correct on those predictions. Of course, we don't always guarantee what the best one is going to be. Sometimes that same game the next day, it doesn't hit as well. So want to be clear there. As far as categories, we had home run or hits, runs, RBIs over was a good category for, again, favorable matchups. It was a 22% return on average. Now, that exact category has shown to be a losing category as a whole, 30 days down 10%. So I do like the HR as a supplemental bet when it's at close to even money with what we think is going to have a good percentage to hit. And then what some of the edge summaries added, the opponent starter K through 9 showed that it had a good lift. It's been a lift that has been very consistent all year long, that if we show the opponent starter K through 9 and how that affects how we run a sim, that's what the right side is basically used for there. It's saying, here's what we're using to give you an idea of why we sim it out the way we do. And there's why we think that opponent starter's strikeouts per 9 has been a great tool. So, as I continue betting, everyone seems to want to limit me on promotions more and more and more. So I have very little promos to use. And so we have a WNBA promo, a no bet sweat MLB promo, and that's literally, and maybe one slight bonus. Yeah, FanDuel's offering an odd 2-leg parlay, which is horseshit because it has to be, no, I guess it's minus 400, so that's fine. So there's a little boost builder from them. FanDuel's offering a 25% on that. So want to just kind of use some tools here. I looked at the MLB slate as a whole, and the MLB slate was not impressive. Not a ton. The two biggest run producing games are at 9 runs each, and neither of those have an announced starter, with Washington, where I do think the Washington bats versus the Reds could be interesting. And I think the Cubs bats at Kansas City could be interesting. They haven't announced, I guess, the Cubs starter. So those are the only 2 games. I really don't want to focus on any specific game right now, just because, again, I'm not seeing, there's a lot of weather out there, and I'm just not seeing a whole lot I like. So want to talk to you about WNBA here. Use the promo. Basically, we have the entire gamut of things that we can bet on and how we look for it. One of the tools I use for WNBA is called Streak Watch. Big fan of this Streak Watch. And basically what it says is, and this is how I've learned to use the tool, and this is what I would recommend you folks do to use the tool, is it's saying, this is not saying a very simple Jackie Young has hit the line however many times. What we're saying is Vegas is adjusting her lines based on her performance. And then I want to look at where it's been, and is she still safe to hit it? In this instance, there's only one player that looks like is kind of tackling this, and that is Jackie Young on points and rebounds at 23.5. So what we're showing, and we only go back 5 as far as actual data. She's hit the line 7 straight. The line has moved from 21 to 22 to 24, back down to 23, stayed at 23. She's hit it 27, 31, 29, 39, 26. So what I like here is I would probably hold off if I saw this line push back to 24.5. But the fact that they're saying 60% chance at minus 108, I love both of this, right? Now, here is the negative. I can say right off the bat, here's the negative. You scroll down, and what we already know, you got to know sports a little bit. And we know that Minnesota is by far the best team in the WNBA this year. They are crushing teams. So what do we know? Their defense, top 25%. Now, I will say this looks like it's still glitching. It has this in red. Here it says versus the specific Minnesota lineup, we have it correct. And basically what it's saying is that the pace of play for Minnesota Lynx is also high. That is green. So it's split. Tough defense, but green on pace. It does have a moderate blowout risk. The blowout risk, the problem with NBA or WNBA is once you get the blowout going on, then it's bad news. Now, let's look what's happened here. June 6th is the last time these teams played. She was clearly under and very much under prior to that in 2024. We're not going to use that. So they've only played once this year. So then what I try to figure out from there is what's actually going on minutes wise. What is our trend? What do we think? This has been one of my favorite tools, and to be honest, most successful tools in the WNBA streets is using the streak watch and how it compares to where we're at. I had mentioned looking at ultimately trying to figure out where we're at on a minutes window. We do have what we call the shot attempts window. Field goals attempted, free throws attempted. Obviously, just a huge performance last game. What I like to look at here is minutes and trending minutes. What can I learn from that? And what I definitely am seeing is someone that I think is pretty much entrenched as a starter. I think we can feel safe. She's going to get the full starters minutes. I'm looking at her history. It seems like that's been pretty consistent. So then I'd love to know, what's changed. Do we have someone hurt? I don't think I'm seeing anything there. So ultimately, this comes down to Jackie Young's feeling it, but she's against a tough defense. And, what does we're accounting for rebounds and, opponents' field goal percentage allowed average, opponents' rebounds, offensive rebounds allowed average. I'm a little nervous because it's Minnesota. So she is a top candidate. I wanted to show how we use the tool. Let's look at a couple other candidates out there just to see if any exist. We're going to get off the streak watch. We're going to move over to who is in peak form. Well, what do you know? We know who's in peak form right now. Further adding to that is Agumbawale, who has been a stud this year. So, these scream off the chart, right? When we're looking at her, I think this looks like a great group of choices. So she's certainly on the list. Let's just look at which one we rate the highest for her. We can go to the search function here. Be nice if I spelled it right. So what do we think here as far as peak form goes? They're all pretty even. Points, rebounds, points, assist. She's, obviously a star on this team, a star in the league. Why Do we like this line? I love this low blowout risk. That's huge. Give that a second to work itself up. Top 10% defense, bottom 10% pace is incorrect. So that's the concern. That's why the line looks like it's a great line. They're playing a team with one of the best defenses in the league, one of the worst pace of plays. She did face them June 18th and got 23 points and rebounds. I mean, absolutely crushing the line. I like that. Only one game against them. I mean, barely cleared this last game. Playing. So the good thing is they are on 2 days rest. Recent trend, little tight there. Let's see how she's trending on this points and assists, which interesting enough is the same. Seems like in general that one assist. The problem with assist are they can go all over the damn map. I'm getting rid of the elite matchups here and just making sure I'm not missing anything that sims up even higher. So yeah, I mean, points in itself could be just the easiest target here. All at close to 60%. I want to say that I lost on her recently on this assist prop, and it pissed me off. And the crazy shit about it was her assist are 3.5 now. And that game I bet, I was bragging about what amazing CLV I got, and I had 2.5 assists, and everything else was 3.5, and I got 2 assists. So I very much remember this. I streamed about this. I caught this the night before that they had this line down to 2.5, and I got this at 2.5 at like even money. And look where she's been. And I picked the one game I bet that she goes under. So that's, again, you look at assists, like that's what concerns you there. Now, 3.5 assists, like what concerns me a little bit when I look at this more rebounds, she's been even more all over the streets. So what is she doing rebound wise? Well, kind of all over the place. Again, she had that shitty game there and she only had 3 rebounds here. So the line is 3.5 on assists, 3.5 on boards. She's hitting assists more often. Her points are 14.5. I really love that they're giving points and assists at pretty close to this. At, generally speaking, if you see points at 14.5, just to be clear here, points at 14.5, and then the other odd is 3.5. Well, I normally don't see 17.5. Most of the time, you're going to see, if you look at it from that logic, that those bets are 18.5. So the 14.5, she is barely clearing that on points. I mean, barely of these last 2 games. She's literally hooked it for the positive. And again, we're going against a top defense. So what I'm hoping is probably my lean here, if I were to say this is what I advise, which kind of is in line with what Vegas is saying. If you're going to bet anything, I think you bet the points and assists, because what it's telling me is she's been more consistent with assists. We saw that below. And if Golden State is D'ing her up pretty heavy, then you might find that she's dishing the ball out more. Let's look at this just, for the heck of it, because it is just one game. You got to understand how these things vary, but just curious, when they played head to head. All right, she only had 3 that game. So I don't know. Which one do we like, folks? I mean, we talk about top form, peak form, who's beating the line. The line didn't move. Do we go Agumbawale, who just cost me my last bet? Do we go with the player that we just talked about prior? There is no elite matchup positive EV. There is no elite matchup. So if you look at favorable matchup, you're probably going to see the same people kind of popping up, and there she is. I'm kind of leaning towards this one. I mean, they could get blown out, which is what could be the negative. But I'll tell you the one that now the other thing is prime unders is a neat category. It looks like that's just focusing on MLB right now, so we're going to get out of that. The streak watch has been one of my favorite things to use in the WNBA. I think it's a neat tool. I can't wait to use this when we hit NBA season. When we hit NBA season, I'm going to be living in Streak Watch because that's the part so many bettors don't get. You're like, oh, and let's just give the most recent example that we can try to remember. And it's Harper. So the end of the NBA season, it's the finals. Dylan Harper is becoming a man. You know, during the playoffs, he went from rookie to this kid is the shit. And we could see it from day one. I was like, wow, they talked all so much about Steph Castle. I was like, Steph Castle's good, but man, this Dylan Harper looks smooth. And what happened was he's grabbing boards. So everyone kept wanting to bet his boards, but Vegas is notching the boards up. It literally went from like 2.5 to 3, or maybe it was 3.5 to 4.5 to 5.5. Well, look, even though Dylan Harper is consistently hitting boards, you really got to look at that line as they're moving it and how it is. So the fact that I'm getting this with the line the same, I get that Minnesota's tough, but they're not as tough a defense as Golden State, at least so far, and they have a better pace. We're going to go ahead and go with this. We're going with our streak watch here, and we're going to bet this Jackie Young. And I'm going to use my boost there. So there's our WNBA play of the day. I do think the Agumbawale bets are live and should be considered. Now, with that said, I didn't really have time to look at unders. There's always time to look at unders. Yesterday, I put a very large bet over a unit on a play that hit using this exact data. And I used an under that I had won a couple times and I ended up losing it. So minus 107, minus 114, because it's a 107 on DraftKings. It's minus 114 on FanDuel. We're going to boost that to a $10 over. It's a max bet of a half a unit. So half a unit, Jackie Young. Let's see if the streak watch can continue showing to me what I think could be maybe our best NBA WNBA tool we have. I really love how it looks at how it adjusts, and it's kind of considering the form trends and everything else to see where we're at. The line has moved. So I will say it was apparently at one time I could have got this at 22.5 at minus 126. Well, fuck. That's where getting in on lines early is really where it's at. I would have taken that all day long. I looked at the 22.5 now, and it was a huge negative jump. It was over minus 200. All right, so let's move over to MLB. We're going to look at our MLB plays here. And really what we're going to do now is we're very focused betting today. It's already a little later in the day. I got to get going here. So we're going to look at home runs with elite matchups because I have a no sweat bet and not a single one pops up as elite. So, oof, right? Oof. Let's go to favorable. Who do we think is favorable and who has EV? Is anybody out there in the streets that we think looks like it's a good combo platter? And what are we looking at? I'm looking at things like who's actually hitting home runs right now, right? So I want to see it have a favorable matchup, and I want to know who's actually hitting home runs right now. Look at the park factors, look at the weather factors. What do I think? I don't think today, let's be very clear. I don't think today is a great home run day. Okay. Easy enough, right? Certain things like I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I am not going to bet a home run in a night game in San Francisco ever. even if the hottest batter, and by the way, I've been starting to use this guy more and more. This Dylan Dingler is this dude's get real hot right now. And he does hit Adrian Hauser well. Adrian Hauser is a hittable pitcher. Ugh. Oh my gosh, am I going to end up talking myself into this? God, I hate this park. I hate this park, and I got to say it's got to be a night game, right? Right? What are we looking at? Detroit at San Francisco at night, 60 degrees. High humidity, but no, I just got to avoid this park. I like the odds there, to be honest. I can see where we're giving this plus money, and I bet it pays better than that. So, very hot hitter, very hittable pitcher. If this game is in Detroit, we are betting this all day long. I will say that the weather is interesting in Washington. And so it is one of the few games I like for home runs. South Stewart has been pretty hot of late. The problem is that Kate Cavalli's kind of, I would say, the remaining, in fact, he is, because they got rid of Foster Griffin, is that he's their remaining ace. So righty. Sal isn't amazing against righties. Yeah, 245. I think this is a pass. This guy was crazy hot going against Jack Perkins, who has been hittable. And I didn't mention this as one of our focus games, and I'm kind of curious why. Okay, it's at Boston. It's not at the A's. Fair weather, at least it's not going to rain. You got to get it over the wall. He is hitting 292. He has been very hot. Doesn't hit the fastball that well, but we do have a hittable pitcher without a great fastball. Doesn't have a lot of history against Perkins. I mean, look at this. Look at his August. Batting 333 in August with 3 home runs. Hits a little bit better at home. I don't hate that. This guy has been interesting. He's a recent call-up. So his stats are all just crazy skewed. He's batting 500 against righties with clearly hitting sinker balls like it's no tomorrow, but it's 26 out of 29 for right-handed bat home runs against a pretty good pitcher in Kiter Montero. So that one is kind of like the young phenom who's been brought up that, what am I saying again? This is not in Detroit. This is again in San Francisco. Yeah, no, pass. If I'm going to bet a San Francisco home run, I'm going Dingler against Hauser. So yeah, this all sucks, to be honest. I the thing is, when it comes to baseball, people love to point out home run plays all the time. There was just a couple games that, very few games of players that I thought I'd like to at least look at, just kind of knowing this existed. A big Burleson fan against a very, very hittable pitcher that's just been sucking. So we call this a +6 favorable matchup. We're literally against Ryan Feltner, who is he crushes Ryan Feltner, 329 hit average. So we're just going to look at Burleson as a whole. This was one of them I just wanted to thinking about what I liked, what I might look at. I wish, we don't know if Jordan Walker is playing tonight. If Jordan Walker was playing tonight, it really helps Burleson like no tomorrow, because it adds such a dangerous bat that the two of them are either Burleson followed by Jordan Walker or vice versa. I will say that this is a bet that I really want to target, I think, for tonight. It's in St. Louis Park, and it doesn't look like they want to give us very good odds on things, so maybe not. It's literally wanting me to have -114 on total bases. I mean, what do we like about all this? He does strike out some, but I mean, everything else looks great other than the park. And again, the park problem is a big problem in St. Louis. It is warm. We're in Colorado. God, would I love this, but nope, it's in St. Louis. It literally bats. We're 29 of 29 for home runs, so we're not going to bet the home run. I would say on this one, what I would advise, the line already sucks, so don't bet this line until you find. It wouldn't shock me. This pitcher is hittable. I wanted to just look at that. I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm leaving this today telling you that I don't necessarily have a great home run play that stands out for you folks. I think that you should take this into account, that baseball has not been easy to bet on this year. It's been somewhat limited. Pete Crow Armstrong has certainly been a goon, and we don't know who's pitching in Kansas City 100%, or I think it's an opener situation followed by maybe Easton McGee. It shows an opener and Daniel Lynch. So they're going to start with a lefty to combat Pete Crow right off the bat. Hitting 281 against righties, hits these pitches well. All this is bullshit, because this is all some weird, like, I don't really know what Kansas City's pulling out. So again, do I want to tell you to run out to this? Has batters been hitting home runs in Kansas City? No. One of our competing experts again thinks that when it gets hot in Kansas City, we're going to see this greatly change. I mean, does Pete Crow Armstrong hit home runs, period? Yes. So this is one where you just got to really digest the data and kind of know that all we can do for you folks is provide what we think is happening. And right now, I'd say we don't know 100% what's happening. It looks like they're going to give him a decent opener who's going to probably give him a tough first at bat, followed by a hodgepodge of folks that my partner's pointing out Daniel Lynch is listed with an over under. The truth is on this game that we don't really know who's playing and what's going to happen, and by no means do I think that the Kansas City bullpen, I mean, I don't know. I guess they have been. So this bullpen as a whole is 29 of 30 on avoiding getting barreled, and they're well rested. Clearly they're well rested because they plan on making this game a bullpen game, is essentially what we're saying. So hot batter, Pete Crow Armstrong, over unders 9. I mean, it's just hard for me to tell you guys what I'm seeing, what I love. I mean, they're giving Pete Crow Armstrong the same odds on total bases as Alec Burleson. So yeah, I mean, if I'm going to pick a batter, right, I'm probably going to go Pete Crow. I guess he's only hit 2 home runs. So there isn't a play. I guess the point of all this is I'm not seeing a play that says bet this home run. And that I normally have one for you. I normally do. I mean, look, let's just do this. This site has so much to offer. Let's just look at screw all the matchups. Screw it all. Who's most likely to hit a home run? What do we think? Who is the one player out there to hit a home run? Maybe that's what we look at, right? So I'm just going to avoid everything now. I just want to say, who do we think? Our sims take all this into account, right? Our sims take into account ballpark, starting pitcher, weather. It does all this for you. So one simple tool, again, is stop clicking all the different categories and just say, who's going to hit a home run? So let's just go down the line here. Here's some obvious names, right? Big name guys. Junior Caminero. The game is in, whether it's in Seattle or Tampa Bay, it doesn't matter. Game's in Seattle. So not good, right? Pitcher, elite. Hasn't hit a home run, small sample size. Shitty odds. Pass. I'm sorry, pass. Matt Olson Interesting, lefty, lefty. Max Fried did get touched off pretty poorly the last game. He got hit pretty well. Matt Olson's been hot again. A hot Matt Olson you put up there with anyone. Better odds. I don't care which park you're in here. I believe this is in New York. I think rain is the biggest problem with this one. There's a lot of games that it's hard to project what's going to happen. 57% chances of rain during the game on this source. We think that it's just overcast, winds. This just shows you a perfect example. This one shows wind 10 miles out. Well, if you told me that, I'm betting this all day long. This source says 5-mile-per-hour wind in from right field. So weather is a tough one to data pull, but favorable park for lefties. Favorable park for lefties. Guy hitting home runs. Now, the Max Fried equation is tough. Again, why are we not screaming this? Look at this pitcher. Like, good pitcher, right? I'm not going over to Max Fried, but in our site, I don't feel like going that far. So I'm just going to do a quick search. Home runs allowed. So somehow I thought maybe the Cardinals touched off Max Fried. We haven't. So yeah, I mean, this is the deciding factor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 or 9, 0 home runs allowed. And the guy, it's not like he's not pitching a lot of innings. 1 home run allowed on the entire chart. Okay, we pass. So what's maybe the moral of the story today? This is the scam with these damn books. Like, this is what we try to do. We try to get you on an even playing field against these books. And that's what's tough, right? It's tough because these books know it. So then they put out this BS home run play. All right, so this might be our play. I don't love Arizona ballpark, but I don't hate it. Merrill Kelly sucks. It's Shohei friggin' Ohtani. Maybe we got there. I think we get there. 293 against righties. It's Shohei friggin' Ohtani. Merrill Kelly has been better. Let's be clear. Merrill Kelly was awful, and I have focused betting against Merrill Kelly, but he has been better. But as a whole, very hittable pitcher. Again, shitty park for lefties. But again, it's Shohei friggin' Ohtani. He hits his pitches well. He's hit a home run against Merrill Kelly. He bats 400 against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly's probably going to shit his pants and try to walk him every single time. All right, that's probably it. Wilber Abreu. Okay, that one's good. So as we scoot down here, I'm actually kind of liking some of these. Hittable pitcher, but doesn't hit Jack Perkins' pitch as well. We pass. Ben Rice. Ben Rice hits these pitches. Good park. Hittable pitcher. Tyler Malley's making his debut, by the way, for Atlanta, which is interesting. Now, this one, I mean, I don't know what the odds truly are, but I tell you, if I'm going to pick a lefty, I'm going back to Washington. And by the way, this is a mistake. Yeah, New York may not have Luis Garcia start every game, but Luis Garcia is starting some games. So in 5 at-bats, he's done nothing but strike out against this guy. What the hell? God damn it. I was so ready to make this the play. 297 versus righty, hits his pitches, horrible pitcher, wind out, number 4 for home runs on from lefties. Whew. I mean, you're going to get the problem with Shohei. And again, Pete Crow Armstrong. There's my top 3 home run plays of the day. All right, folks, I already gave it to you. Pete Crow Armstrong, Ohtani, Garcia. Now, I am going to focus. The Kansas City one's so weird. I'm just curious. So for Shohei, again, this is a promo on DraftKings, plus 274 as a no sweat bet. And then we're going to look up Luis Garcia. I actually really love Garcia, and he's been super pumped since he came back to the Yankees. The guy has just been, he grew up in New York. So him playing to this hometown crowd at home against this pitcher that sucks. Isn't it at home or is this in Atlanta? Maybe I have that wrong. I get that backwards on our site sometimes. That's when it says versus, that should be at Atlanta. What is the weather doing there again? I love lefty bats in Atlanta hitting home runs. I can tell you that. And I'm taking longer than I should. Of course, this is in Atlanta. It says versus. What in the holy waste of time? Okay, it's at New York. Why am I looking at that weird? So our site, I need to get that down better. That's why I get it confused. We're always putting it as our player. Okay, so at New York, 57% chance of rain during the game. We think the wind's out. Other sites think the wind's in. This guy. All right, let's just look up one more thing here. Tyler Mahle stats. Last game pitched, home run, 0, home run, 0-0, home run, 0, home run, home run, home run. Merrill Kelly stats. Home run, 0, home run, 0, home run, home run, home run, home run, home run, 3 home runs. All right, fuck it. You know what? If you ever want to know, this is some top level betting insight for you. When all else fails, bet Shohei, right? Bet Shohei. I will tell you this though, from an odds perspective, you're going to get plus 360 Luis Garcia against Tyler Mahle. Ohtani in a shittier ballpark. The one thing at least we can say is the weather there is not a factor. So at least you have that. All right, what the frick? Oh, log in, of course. Oh my God, verify it's you. Let's waste some more time on this stream, boys. And then we're going to have to call it after that. The stream, I wanted to also use my one last bet, and we'll just very briefly go over one last thing here. I just want to get this one out of the way. No sweat bet. Stupidity. You know, the thing about that is they're giving you no sweat up to $20. So I'll take a $10 no sweat bet. And then, you know, if it doesn't hit, we got us another 10 free dollars to use on anything. And we'll use the no sweat bet on the anything on something like a total basis or an HR that's close to even money just to get our $10 back. So look, let's wrap this up very quickly. We're going to look at what are some prime unders in baseball. Today, I do think is an under day. So great pitcher in Nathan Eovaldi, right on right. So him to shut down Pete, I don't know. He did get a hit in 3 at bats, 257. That might be a prime under to look at that you get plus money. This is what we try to do when we try to find you some value where we think something might be priced off of. So I do like that prime under. We're just going to now hit this elite matchups of all bets. And we want to look at things that are at a better betting average for us across the board? Does anything scream out to us for elite with good EV? What's out there? I like that Rasmussen under on earned runs, even though it's 1.5. That's an interesting one. We're going to go to overs. There were some K matchups out there that I think I like. And I'm going to leave you with a play too that I want to talk about. So interesting. We have some walk plays that are kind of leading up on the board here. Oh, you know what? Let me re-highlight this. There we go. So again, very hot batter and Rafaela. He was a home run play we briefly talked about. This guy's just been on fire. It is a hittable pitcher. There's a lot there I like. We're giving this plus EV. Hit this 80% of the time. Doesn't hit the fastball amazingly well, but I don't feel like Perkins has an amazing fastball. So I think that's a good play. I like the EV we're getting on that. Weatherholt to get a walk against Ryan Feltner. Sure, except I really only like walks when they're like plus 140 or 50 higher because there is variance to walks. So I don't mind either of these walk plays. They're certainly doing it a lot. These are certainly pitchers that I think semi suck. Just kind of looking out there to see what else screams. Let's see what we think our highest EV edge is of any bet. Do we see anything that like looks positive EV but closer to 50-50? So we're back to the Weatherholt. We're back to Dingler to hit a home run. Absolutely any other park other than San Francisco at night. Honestly, probably my least favorite park in all of baseball. I mean, honestly, like this might be the only bet that I see. So here we go. Let's just wrap this up using the tools of Edgeboard. My final play of the day, because again, I wasn't given very many boost, and boost plus our tools is how you try to make money. It's hard to make money in this in the streets of what we call MLB sports betting. I think it'll be easier in the NBA, quite frankly. So who gave me the last boost? It was Jesus. I forgot it was the stupid other boost they gave. So I can use a 2-player prop on anything boosted by a boost builder. The fuck is that? You know what? I'm going. That's such a goofy promo that we're just going to see who's giving me the best odds on total bases for my guy Sedain here. And I have minus 103 on DraftKings. So we're just going to slap a half a unit on that. And those are the plays of the day, folks. I gave you my WNBA couple plays there, whether it was a Gumbawale, I believe, or Perkins was who I ended up going with. And then we looked at some top home run plays. We went with Ohtani over just the sheer combination of a pitcher he's hit a home run with, a pitcher who I think can suck often, not a great power park, but Ohtani kind of overrides whether a ball is going to leave the park or not. Picked out a couple other home run plays. We looked at this for our bases play, and I guess that was really about it. I showed peak form. We looked at Pete Alonso as possibly a good peak under. I do want to we got 1 minute here. I want to point out one other play. So let's look at our money line plays here. Detroit Red Hot. I think that's great. I hate that pitcher. I like this pitcher. Honestly, there's, this stupid promo they're giving me. I think I might use it on these actually. And a Detroit money line play against San Francisco. Like, yeah. 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 Absolutely. I don't love this. Yankees as a whole are not batting great. So what this is this is our site saying um way better starter, equal bullpen. But here's what the problem is. It's a little confused on offense. Honestly, both teams are a little they're both playing below their level. That makes sense. Um I want to point out one game. I I think we might have this one wrong. It's saying Colorado at St. Louis at the 41. Well, see, again, I've got this. Let me fix this. I've learned for our site, when you go into these props, clear the odds. So now it should be pushed to. I still don't know why it's showing it this way. I think Cal Leahy's, just to give you guys full disclosure here, Cal Leahy, I do study the Cardinals a lot, has been pitching amazingly well. Ryan Feltner sucked. I would wait to see if Jordan Walker's in the lineup. But from my understanding, I think St. Louis was getting pretty good value on that. We're not showing it that way, but I do like St. Louis there. On the run line, I do like Boston here. I think this is a clear matchup. You know, pitcher versus pitcher dominating, bullpen versus bullpen dominating. And then what the site is not really taking into account is maybe over the year, these were equal offenses. But the Oakland team has given up and has no Nick Kurtz, no Shea Langoliers, who were like literally superstars on that team. And Boston is playing out of their damn mind and is the hottest team in baseball. So love, like this one, great pitcher matchup versus this. But I will tell you, Cleveland's offense has kind of disappointed me. I'm going to avoid any times trying to say that Merrill Kelly's going to hold down LA. I don't care how bad LA has looked of late. I just mentioned I love this one. This is the one, I mean, it's giving, I don't quite understand why we said this on the money line, but anyway, the play here, let me go with the play. St. Louis's bullpen has been shady. Colorado's bullpen is fucking awful. Maybe the worst bullpen of all baseball. I don't think if you ever did this, anyone's going to be ranked lower than 11. Great starter, shitty starter. Granted, both shitty offenses, but what we're forgetting is, yeah, this offense is good. They're good in Colorado. They play a lot of games in Colorado. It's not like this offense is that amazing. This offense just benefits that they get a lot of Colorado. So welcome to St. Louis, night and day. And St. Louis loves lefties. So I really like the St. Louis, either to win the run line, maybe even the first 5. I was going to say, let's avoid getting into our bullpen, but then I forgot that Colorado's bullpen's worse. So you know what? St. Louis as a whole, I like that. I think my favorite bet is this Detroit bet. They are just scoring runs in the bunches. Now, granted, they're in San Francisco. Let's look at totals. Maybe, again, this is why if you see it on the over, maybe like the run line. I was going to see like who screams unders here. I don't necessarily see anything here that I love. Let's look at one last thing for you guys for the day. We call it a day. Let's go back to all matchups because we do this a little weird. You have to be in all matchups and then it brings up the first blood. Do we have anything that screams out to us? Toronto at Philly. I've kind of jumped around some things, but do I think that I love this? No, because Zach Wheeler against Toronto's offense. I do think that this one's interesting. Soriano's making his debut for Toronto. There are some, it didn't pop up, so that's why we didn't look at it. But I do think there's some Philly lefties to look at there. Bryce Harper's decided to become good again. We'll go look at Harper. Quiet First. What do we think about Quiet First? Where do we see some EV? I mean, this one is screaming. Thornton against someone I don't even know, Mladzinski. So I'm not going to research that one. I'm out of time. But this, what do we use here? We take how often do these teams score in the first run? How often do these guys not let people score in the first run? Zach Thornton has been touched off for a run his last 2 games. Zach Thornton's pretty good. Pittsburgh offense can also be pretty good. So I don't know if I love that. I mean, look, the whole Nerfy-Yerfy play to me is a little bit more random. But anytime you're seeing 27% EV, I guess that one should be researched more by you folks. Just kind of curious, going back to hot batters. Harper of late has gotten hot, and I think he touches this specific pitcher off pretty well. He's gotten a hit in 8 of his last 10 games, so he didn't. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not that hot because the last 2 of the last 3 he didn't get a hit. Home runs, hasn't hit one in the last few games. Let's just look at this matchup. I'm just curious. It's in a ballpark where you can hit home runs. Number 1 home run ballpark for lefties is his home ballpark. Weather, I think, projects interesting. What does he do against this guy? 282 against righties. Hits his primary pitch as well. He's been an average pitcher. Do we have any history? Hasn't had history. All right, we avoid it. Might be worth thinking about. Folks, I'm out of here. You have a wonderful Friday. You have a wonderful weekend. We're going to go live tomorrow and Sunday. We're really going to try to get a little more involved with some longer streams again, like I did last weekend here over the weekend. And there's some top plays, and good luck out there. Edgeboard, code EDGE, 25% off for your initial package.